What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. It's a spoiler review, spoiler reaction, spoiler review breakdown of Masters of the Universe. Haven't done a spoiler one in quite a while. I figured I have to do a spoiler for this one, right? This is it's a huge movie for me. You guys know the history. You might know the history. You might not know the history. But I want to break down this movie. And as I said, there's a lot in this movie that I really enjoyed. There's a lot that I didn't enjoy. And we'll kind of go over it. I'm able to, the reason I want to do the spoiler one is because I realized after talking about this that if you're not really too caught up in the Masters of the Universe lore and just see it as this silly 80 cartoon, that you could have so much fun with this movie and not give a shit about any of the stuff that I had issues with or other people had issues with, because it's kind of like an entryway and that's how you're discovering it. And it really does play. I know it's an overused word, but like fun. And it does have a adventure epic feel to it overall that can bring people in that if you weren't expecting anything at all and didn't know anything about it, you could be shocked by how entertaining the movie is, and it is. The stuff that bothered me was some of the lore stuff in general, right? So the thing that I always loved about the Adam and He-Man aspect of it, I'll jump right into this, is that Adam and He-Man were essentially like almost like two different people, because if you watch the 2002 comic or cartoon animated rather on Cartoon Network, they really dive deep into the lore of the sword and thousands of years, how he's been the protector of Grayskull and all of that. When he picked up the sword, it's almost like he was just a different person. And people didn't know that it was him. In this movie, Teela sees him do it. Teela knows that it's Adam. They call him Adam. He's Adam with muscles, basically, is what it is. They changed the dynamic of what He-Man is, and they turned him into this. He just gets superpowers, basically. It's Adam with superpowers. It's not this. He's different. I mean, the funny thing is, for the most part, in the 80s and in the 2002, pretty much looks the same. Well, no, in the 2002 he's probably significantly bigger, but and different looking. But the only people who knew the secret, and that was the beginning of it, is that he said there's only a couple people that know the secret. Orko knows the secret, the Sorcerer knows the secret, Grinch knows the secret, and Man-at-Arms know the secret. That's it. That was a big aspect. In this, they kind of goof on the fact that it's like, oh, he knows that he's walking away to change, right? We all know that it's him, right? It's like, I didn't like that. I didn't like that. In the lore aspect of it. Again, these are going to be things that aren't going to bother a lot of people who don't care about the lore of Masters of the Universe. This is more so of my nitpicks on the lore aspect of it, and then we'll discuss other things that do happen in there that I do like. Orko, they show at the end. This is kind of the things that I really dug. At the very end, when you see Orko and he tells a lesson, this is what happened at the end of every 80s show. I love that they did that. I love that they showed him telling the lesson, going through it. They'll probably have him more in the second one, should they make a second one. And then the other, apparently there were two other post-credit scenes. One with Evil Lynn picking up Skeletor's mask or something, or face. I don't know why that would happen. I didn't love their dynamic either, by the way. Loved Skeletor, but I didn't love it in the animated show. Like, she was just like the number two. She was like the number two, and he would like Beastman. He was a dick to Beastman. He was always a dick to Beastman, always calling names. And he would say certain things to Evil Lynn, but Evil Lynn would give him some shit back. And Evil Lynn was more so like he'd leave the castle, and he'd feel okay leaving the castle or Snake Mountain rather to Evil Lynn. And he would, she was like the number two. And she kind of is in this, but she's more like scared of him all the time. And then there's a couple of different those jokes that pop up there. And I'm not telling you that the 80s show was completely serious all the time. It wasn't. There was definitely some goofy things, but there's a lot of different lore inside of that they didn't necessarily play on. They don't play on the fact at all about Teela and the Sorcerer, who is her mother. They don't play on that. That's not ever really talked about at all. Maybe they do it in the future movies, whatever it might be, but they don't even play on that relationship with Duncan, who took her in as a young child, like, and you looked at that story because of what happened to her, and Duncan had to take her over, and there was a kind of a dramatic episode. I think episode 1. They get into that in the 80s animated version. You can watch it on YouTube, I think. But that whole dynamic, and then the sorcerer, who is not really used as much in this, and she was the one who was always kind of working with Adam and working with He-Man once He-Man was there, and protecting Castle Grayskull. And that was the other thing, was Skeletor was in this is trying, you don't, even though I thought Jared Leto was great, his motivation was to take over the castle, not Castle Grayskull, but the castle with the king. He does. And then like for the next 15 years, he's kind of bored, doesn't know what to do, and he wants to get the Sword of Power. He always wanted to get to Castle Grayskull. He wanted to get into Castle Grayskull. He wanted to get in there, and that was his mission, to get into Castle Grayskull, to unlock all of the secrets of Eternia. I think that was missed that they didn't go after that, because that should have been the mission. Should have been the major mission to try to get. They try to weaken the sorcerer. All that. So that's all the stuff that I wish and hope that they wanted to, and I'll probably dive into it too. But that and it does. How is it relevant? It's just stuff that you wanted to see. Well, but it's again, it took away from me when I was realizing some of the things, because Adam was essentially like Clark Kent. Even though that Superman puts on that persona, Adam was Clark Kent, and then He-Man was Superman. But he was very aware, and he wasn't, even though he was a little clumsy and he would get into some shit with Cringer and stuff, he wasn't a complete goof. He had to pretend he was a goof a lot of times, but he's like running around the whole time, and that's what happens in this one, right? I love the stuff, and this is where I'm going to go into the beginning of this movie, that stuff that I loved. When they opened this movie up, and the training, and watching what Adam has to go through in the beginning, when he's training with Duncan, and he's training, and the moment with his dad, I loved that moment when he's like, get up. Now he's going to turn around. He's going to turn around. Don't worry, he's going to turn around. And he never turns around. It was a great moment. I don't even know if there were stupid jokes in between. I kind of hope that they aren't, but because the stuff that I remember is that stuff there. That really locked in the way that they set up Eternia and they set up Teela. I thought Teela, both the younger actress who played Teela, and then who I think was actually the best in the entire movie is it Camila Mendes? Is that, I believe, who plays Teela? Camila Mendes. She was excellent. She's the best part of the whole movie. She was excellent. She, to me, like when I was looking at her and watching her like fight and stuff, and I'm going, wow, that's Teela. She was a great Teela, really great Teela. And so when they're and the young girl who played Teela was great too. So there was always that relationship, and Teela being Man-at-Arms' daughter and raised through it and making sure that he's okay. She was never kind of a dick to him. She would look after him, and she was also, she was the emphasis. I wish the emphasis was there a little bit more. She was like the captain of the guard. She was the captain of the guard. She was like the main thing. That's why I didn't dig when they go back 15 years later and Duncan's like this drunken fool, because he lost the battle, one battle, the Trapjaw, that broke him down, and yes, the king got captured. It sucks. He lost it, but then he gave up, became a drunk. I don't know. Idris Elba I thought was amazing. I thought he was great. But going back to that opening scene, and they're all fighting, you see everybody, and you see all the warriors, you see Ram Man, you see Mechanic, and you see all that, and you really do get to the core that Adam just wants to be accepted by his dad. All that I thought was fantastic, and all that played really well, and how is he going to overcome that? And then when the attack comes and Skeletor and everybody else comes, and you see Jared Leto for the first time as Skeletor, that's like such an authentic, great Skeletor look. He's all jacked up. He's got the face. He's and he's like all great stuff and little quips. There is one moment when I think it was maybe at the end after they win this big battle. Then he's laughing, and then there's like this silly moment that happens there, but not enough to kind of ruin the moment, but a little unnecessary moment. But they have like such a great opening scene on Eternia, and then eventually, because Marlena says, we got to get him to my home planet, we got to get him out of here, and her and the sorceress helps, and he goes and he escapes to Earth. Now, I was initially and still kind of not thrilled that they go to Earth, but I understood the device of why they needed to get him there. He needs to get to Earth. They got to protect him on Earth. He's got the sword. Don't lose the sword. That's going to be your vessel on the way back. So he, the second he goes through, he's a kid. So the fact that he's a young kid and he's holding the sword and the sword gets away from him, that was okay. It's, again, I guess, tone-wise. Like, oh, no. It's like, you're a kid. You should be like, no, like the idea of him holding onto that sword and it getting away from him and him being devastated. But then that's when it starts to go into a tone where I was worried that it was going to fail for me, because I like the second half significantly better than the first. The first 5 to 6 minutes or whatever it was before he goes to Earth and the last half is incredible. I loved what they do there, and I love what Travis Knight does with it. But once you get to Earth, that represents the cutting the tension, building up what the stakes are, and then dropping them with goofy jokes. The stuff with the roommate, the stuff at the date, and looking for the sword, like and they treat it as he's looking for a sword. He's kind of looking for it like a weirdo, and he's just like such a goof about it, and everyone's like laughing at him and mocking him. I told you guys, like stuff like that. They could have done all of that mission to where he's legit, he's working at this company and he's behind the scenes trying to find the sword. He's looking for the sword. He's trying to, you can still throw jokes in there and laughs. Like the roommate said, what are you doing? He's like, nothing. He's like, you looking for the sword again? Come on, man. You got a date. What are you looking for swords for? You're 30 years old. You have swords? You could throw things in there that, without that tone, like he's just telling everybody about the sword now. Where's my sword? You got my sword? You got my sword? And again, there's going to be people who disagree and think that, oh, that was fun. It was a fun adventure. The way that they did it, it was goofy, it was silly. It's a He-Man thing. What do you expect? I still think that you could have done it they build up it so well in the beginning of how he's got the sword. And then if he loses it, he's going to be in trouble. Let him keep looking for the sword. And he's got to, and it's almost what they did in the 87 movie, where you got to find the key or whatever it is, but you've got to get him off that. He's got to find a way to get it. And he finally gets the sword, and whatever he does, and then it's the whole moment where he steals it. No one, he finally, they come and get him because he stole the sword. And then Tila comes in, rescues him because Beastman is causing havoc. Oh, Beastman looked awesome, by the way. Beastman looked great. And then, they disappear off of Earth and they go back to Eternia. Summer's coming around. I like taking long walks with the family. There's a lot going on with camps with my family. Tons of stuff. We try to stay active during the summer, especially. So whether you are on the go, staying hydrated, it really is a key to enjoying all the extra sunshine. That's where Liquid IV comes in, man. I always have a packet for me. I have a packet for me when I go to the gym. And especially when we did this like big barbecue the other day, did that. It was getting hot outside. It's just amazing. I like the cotton candy side of it. I like the orange vanilla dream. And it's just refreshing. I really dig it. So just one stick, 16 ounces of water, hydrates faster than water alone. It's got an optimized ratio of electrolytes. It's got essential vitamins and clinically tested nutrients that turn ordinary water into extraordinary hydration. Now, when you compare it to water, Liquid IV delivers long-lasting hydration, and it retains hydration for up to 4 hours. That's the thing I love about it the most. It's also great because it's backed by a scientific advisory board with world-renowned researchers to conduct clinical research and trials. Got 8 essential vitamins and nutrients, always non-GMO, vegan, gluten-free, dairy-free, and soy-free. So if you want to stay hydrated while you're on the go this summer, do it with Liquid IV. You just tear it, you pour it, you live more. You go to liquidiv.com and you get 20% off your first purchase when you use that code Kristian at checkout. That's 20% off your first purchase with Kristian at liquidiv.com. I've been talking about them forever. Give it a shot. You will enjoy it. You will feel better. Liquid IV. It's the bomb. Oh, I'm not even mentioning. I don't really want to mention. I like to where the HR scene. Don't do the sword. This, can I come talk to you? This and that. And like it was too much for me. It was too much. I was in my head. I'm going. Let's get back to Eternia. Let's go. You set that because they set it up so well, and the fights and the action in this movie is incredible. It looks gorgeous. The music was so the score was perfect. A good blend of using some of the 80s stuff and using some brand new things, similar to what like Kevin Kiner and those guys do for Star Wars. They did this for Masters of the Universe, and the score was really, really well done. And the fights, overall, the fights were just magnificent, and they were violent. Like, they were really violent. I'll tell you the humor that I did like a lot, and I wish that this would have been kind of more of the consistent humor that was there, was the stuff with the robot. That to me seemed like, when we were looking at trailers and you go, oh, you can get the humor like Guardians of the Galaxy. I thought the robot did that well. I thought the relationship even with Duncan and the robot worked really well. That's the kind of humor I thought worked good. It was the stuff with Adam, really. They never gave him an opportunity. He was kind of just like a punchline. Look how goofy and silly I am. I can't get my shit together. I'm so incompetent. And the reason why is because to show, no, you are. And once you get the sword, look what happens. And then ultimately, I get why they did what they did at the end. It's not about the sword. It's always been in you. You've always had it. Because if it was just about the sword, it's like, because what anybody could say is like, the guy is such a goof. And he really, the only reason he was anything is he picked up the sword. It's like, well, no, the power of Grayskull was actually in him the whole entire time. But that second half of the movie is wonderful. It really is. Like that. Even thinking about that scene, the slow motion shit when he's beating the shit out of Skeletor on the side, and you see Skeletor's bones crunching, and that idea of like, that's another joke that worked. Let's talk this out. Let's see if we can do it. And then Skeletor's not going to talk. He's going to try to be a scumbag, and then Heyman just whoops his ass. He's like, with the time and tough, it's over now. I'm just going to beat your ass. And that was great. Loved that. The initial transformation scene with Trapjaw, setting up Trapjaw, with how Trapjaw was had bested Man-at-Arms, and now here's Adam who's got to fight him. And this goes back to my initial thing, was I would have loved that idea that he has the sword somewhere. He picks it up in private, turns into He-Man, and then they're like, who the hell is this? Like Duncan would know. But Teela's like, who's this? And then I guess that becomes another device that probably Travis Knight just didn't want to deal with. He's like, well, I got to keep dealing with how Teela doesn't know who He-Man is, and it's convenient now. I get it. But it's part of it. But in this, that's not what they did. In this, it's, okay, I just saw him transform. There he is. He's now Adam with muscles. They even call him Adam as much. And he's using his strength, and he's getting more into it, and he's learning how to use the powers. And there's this big fight that happens, and Susie beats the shit out of Trapjaw. He's flying around on those things, and he's learning more about it. And then you start to develop the characters again. Same note. They're in that forest. They're developing things, and then they disrupt it with some silly, stupid joke. And I was like, I remember that particular scene. I'd have to watch it again, but I remember going, "Oh, okay, I'm so into this. I'm into this. This is their lore for this. Okay, this is different how they're doing this." And then dumb joke, and I'm like, "Oh," and it threw me out of it. But as they're setting up Eternia so well, and then you have to like recruit people and try to figure out, and they don't believe at first that he's Adam. I think at one point they don't believe he's Adam, and his mother's like standing right there. It's like his mother just said it's Adam, you freaking idiots. But then there's the joke with Fisto. I get it. And there's something to him as a kid saying these aren't their real. I thought that was clever. I thought it was clever to like, that's not their real names. It's not Fisto and Ram Man and Mackinac and all. This is the names that he had for him as a kid. And it was a good way to explain it, like how these silly names like Skunkor would happen, and all these Moss Man and shit like that. Like that I thought that was clever. I thought that worked. But I would have liked to seen those guys be more than just like there for the gag. I would have learned I wanted to learn a little bit more about them, and more about where they came from, and more setting up in this epic tone, because this movie tends to be two movies. It's like a really silly, over the top comedy, more so in the line of like Love and Thunder, around that side of it. And then there's an epic movie in there, like a real epic movie in there. And that's the stuff that I really responded to. And the first time, Well, the stuff that worked and with Randor, when He-Man finally finds his dad, Skeletor's got him. He goes into Snake Mountain, and then He-Man is just wrecking shop against everybody. It was incredible, that scene. And it looks like He-Man's going to be taken out as well. And his dad ultimately eats it, like the way. But they have this moment together, which I thought worked too. Those are the emotional moments that I thought really worked. And as I said, like even thinking back and talking about this movie, there's so much in here that's really good, like really good. That scene was I could watch that scene in Snake Mountain 1,000 times over. That's the scene to me that I always hoped I would see in a He-Man movie. He-Man just kicking the shit out of everybody, using his powers. He was super strong, just destroying everybody, able to do it. And the way that Travis Knight uses the cameras, there are some times that I feel like slow motion is overused and just a device where they can't really, it's like, what do we do? Let's use slow motion. I thought he used slow motion so masterfully in both a lot throughout the entire movie. And even what he did with that robot, as I mentioned, the robot probably has a kind of like almost has like a K2SO arc throughout it, where it's had this battle thing, tried to kill Duncan at one point. Duncan forms a friendship with it, protects it at the end. Trapjaw once again has this moment where of just being the ultimate villain, takes the robot out. Well, he saves the CPU, but still. And then Duncan being able to redeem himself. And if you're going to go through that angle, the fact that they made him a drunk, comes back, redeems himself, good. Idris Elba's the man. He was great as Duncan. I loved him as Duncan. Even though, maybe they didn't need the silly drunk angle, but whatever it might be, I would have liked to see a little bit more of the relationship between him and Teela, maybe even hinting the fact that we know, because they don't even tell you really. Like, if you don't know the He-Man lore, they don't really tell you how, like, what the relationship, that he's not a real father. They don't even tell you that. I mean, if they do, I missed it, but it should have been a heavier point. If they're going to set up She-Ra, they should set that up too, because that's a major emotional moment. And especially when you ultimately find out that of who she is and her lineage. But this, as I mentioned, the second half with Adam really recruiting everybody, getting on board, and once you have the whole crew with Fisto and Mechanic and everybody are fighting in the arena, and you get to see them. It reminded me of like the Deadpool and Wolverine scene where you've got Gambit and Blade and Elektra fighting against everyone else too. They placed that really well, and I thought that worked. The action, I don't have a negative thing to say about the action in this movie. Every time there were space or battles in the air or hand-to-hand combat or big explosions and all that, it just worked for me. It just worked. I'm telling you, if they wouldn't, it's not a matter of taking out the humor. If they would have used different humor and more sporadically, I think I would have loved this movie. Because from the majority of the story that they told, I was on board. It's similar. I just did a non-spoiler for Scary Movie 6. I think it's similar too. If you don't mind the jokes in this, like I've quite a few friends that embraced what the tone was overall and just had a blast from the start to finish with this movie. And I think because I am as invested in the lore and everything because of my history with the movie, I look at it in a different standard, because I don't agree with the notion, and I'm sure people have already commented on this before I even finished talking. Well, what were you supposed to do with an 80s cartoon that was cheesy in nature? There is so much inside of the lore, and I always throw back to the 2002 cartoon, to make this epic, to make this Lord of the Rings meets Star Wars, with throwing in comedy in the same way that the Avengers did, or anything along those lines, or you can make it work. But and that being said, I really hope that we see a second one. I don't think that we will because of box office wise, but I hope Amazon turns it into a streaming film for the second one and gives people a chance. And maybe they will tone back on some of the humor. Probably not. But either way, it was great to see Eternia on the big screen. It was great, and I thought Nicholas Constantine was a great He-Man. I thought he was, even though I thought he was a great Adam. And let me defend. You just shit on says how Adam's supposed to be. That's not his fault. Nicholas Constantine was given an assignment. They said, "Here, we want you to do this," and that's what he did. We want you to play He-Man like this. That's what he did. I don't really see a bad performance in this movie. I feel like Alison Brie was completely underused. I feel like the Sorceress was completely underused. And maybe, if there are more movies, then there's an opportunity to give them more to do. But overall, yeah, look, I said it in my out of the theater reaction. I liked the movie. I wanted to love this movie. I wanted to say this was great. This was everything. This is it. When Travis Knight got announced, I said, this is the guy that could bring it to, the promised land because of Bumblebee and the Bumblebee tone. I thought there's some silly stuff going on in Bumblebee for sure, but I thought the Bumblebee tone could have served this movie. And in the same way that I said with Nicholas, I think Travis Knight was also given an assignment. Hey, we want to go tongue in cheek, really embrace like the cheesiness. Throw a lot of humor in there. Make them laugh in the theater. Like let's play on the fact that his name is Fisto. Let's do that. And I think he did that. And I think he did it well. He's got a different style. He can be serious. He can make shit creepy. I mean, shit, look at Kubo. He can combine the tone. Look at Bumblebee. This is the tone I think he was asked to do, and I think he did it well. I don't blame him for the things that I didn't like. I don't blame Travis Knight. I think Travis Knight did exactly what he was asked to do. I just think that maybe this movie in the theater is 20 years too late, because I think that what they're going for with this type of tone is to get people, what I would assume people who are going to be watching this, who've seen the movie, who didn't know He-Man, and maybe are a lot younger than I am, saw it. I think that they accomplish their goal, which is, and you tell me if you're the person I'm talking about, I didn't know anything about it. I went to go and check it out, and I really liked it. I didn't know anything about He-Man, and I really what a blast. I think that was the intended goal, and I think it worked on people. The problem is that I don't think enough people said, oh, you know what? That looks interesting. I'm going to go see it. The majority of people who went to see it were people in my generation. For the most part. I'm not telling you, not everybody, but the most part. And unfortunately, my generation outside, I know this is what I do for a living, but my generation doesn't really go to the movies that much anymore. Every once in a while, but not all the time. 20 years ago, we went every weekend because that's what we did. So I think it was 20 years too late. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it has a turnaround. Maybe I am so outside the what everybody else wants on this one. And maybe people really loved having such a good time with this movie that it has a word of mouth and it starts crushing and it just completely blows projections out of the water. And next week people go and check it out. I don't know. There's probably a lot more to talk about, but that's what I wanted to discuss. What did you guys think about Masters of the Universe? What did you think about anything in general? Were you a fan growing up? Maybe you were a fan growing up and you didn't know enough about the lore. You didn't give a shit, but you just liked watching He-Man battle Skeletor up on screen. Because that fight was pretty great. Skeletor fighting He-Man at the end was awesome. That was awesome. Like the second half was pretty great. The second half was great. Would I see this movie again in the theater? Yeah, I probably would. I probably would, because I probably would be able to get over the humor because I would know it's coming and it wouldn't be as jarring. So I would just kind of get through it and say, okay, just wait, because there's just so much there to watch visually that's so cool that I could probably get over it. You know, like I like this movie significantly better than Mandalorian and Grogu. I thought there was a purpose to this movie. I thought there was like I thought the story, I thought the characters were developed, even though, albeit maybe, they could have grown more and not been as taken over by the humor, but it was there. Like I knew the mission. And they developed all the characters. Well, a lot of the characters. So I'd watch this movie again in the theater. Absolutely. I think it's one of those films you can say I'd be interested in seeing if I could get one of my kids to go see it. They weren't interested in it, but I'd be interested to see what they thought about it. How about you guys though? Put your thoughts in there. I want to know. Click like, comment, subscribe, do all that and more. Have a great weekend, everybody. You don't want to just lose weight though. You want to look better and you want to feel better. That's why Weight Loss by Hims now offers access to FDA-approved Wegovy and the FDA-approved Wegovy pen. Wegovy is designed to help you lose weight and keep it off so you can stay on track with your goals. With Wegovy at Hims, lose up to 20% or more of your body weight when combined with diet and exercise. It helps you regulate your appetite, eat less, so success is within reach. Plus, Wegovy is the first ever GLP-1 for weight loss, so there's no needles needed. Through Hims, everything happens online. You'll connect with a licensed provider who will determine if treatment is right for you. If prescribed, your medication is delivered right to your door, no insurance necessary. Now, even better, with a range of affordable GLP-1 options, Hims makes it simple to find a weight loss approach that fits into your world and your wallet if eligible. You'll get a treatment plan personalized to you and unlimited dosage changes as needed. If you're ready to reach your goals, visit hims.com/Kristian to get a personalized, affordable plan that gets you. That is HIMS.com/Kristian. Hims.com/Kristian. Weight Loss by Hims is not available in all 50 states. Wegovy is the registered trademark of Novo Nordisk AS. To get started and learn more, including important safety information, Wegovy clinical study information, and restrictions, visit hims.com.